What is going on, everybody? Today is Saturday, the 26th of March, 2016, and this is the Q Spoilercast on Batman v Superman. I am your host, Patrick Figueroa, and joining me today is Christian Elriaga.
What up, what up?
Dude, so you are fresh from coming to the movie, right?
Like less than an hour away.
Less than an hour. Okay. I watched it Thursday night. I think they got, some 24 million on Thursday night.
Something like that.
Projected to finish out with either 100 or 150 million domestically, and I haven't actually heard any numbers for worldwide, but before the reviews all started coming in, this movie was projected to possibly break $390 million worldwide, which is a huge number. Do you think that's going to still happen?
Well, what was the timeline for that projection? Do we know? Was it opening weekend?
Just the opening weekend, yeah.
I think it could do it. I think it can. I do think it can.
390? That's a lot.
It is, but I think that just the hype train following the movie alone will probably be enough to propel it. Because, I mean, those are big names, right? Big names with big spoilers and big reveals in here.
How packed was your theater?
It was pretty full. I actually don't think there was an empty seat.
Mine was as well. Mine was very full. A lot of people showed up on Thursday night at 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock at night.
Which is amazing, you know?
It would have been a big deal. It was supposed to be a big deal.
Right.
But what happened, Christian?
Jesus Christ, did that go south real fast.
It did. Now, I've been hyping this movie for an eternity. For 2-3 years, maybe?
Right. Since it was released, since it was spoiled.
Since it was first even announced, I lost my shit. And 3 years later, and I thought I would have to defend this movie. I really didn't want to defend this movie. Like, I have to defend Man of Steel.
Right.
And I luckily won't have to because it was awful. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I didn't want to be the first one to break the news, but there were some things that I do think were done okay, but as far as the movie as a whole goes, man, that could have been done better. And I think that at its core, and that's crazy to say, like, because this is obviously super generic, and I haven't even taken a film 101 class, but like, this movie just could have been done better. That's about as much as I can say. It's about as much as I can say about the whole thing. It's ridiculous that I had so many expectations, and with Zack Snyder being Zack Snyder, I mean, he's got a mixed resume, right? Yeah, like the critically acclaimed 300.
Critically acclaimed,
I don't
quote,
know.
Quote.
I mean, you could see his style from those original movies peering through here, and I think the biggest thing is that 300 was lauded as something that was very visually appealing. It had a lot of very good effects that we hadn't seen yet, and I believe that he was kind of overdoing it with a lot of that in this movie. There were definitely a lot of scenes, especially towards the end, where there was a lot of just very visual stuff going on. It was kind of clouding the view.
A lot of stimulation towards the end. And stimulation isn't a bad thing.
Right.
Like, and that's when you go to a comic book movie, you almost like want to be visually stimulated. Like, seeing these gods and metahumans fighting each other is a really neat thing and fun thing to see. But I mean, with 300, 300 made sense.
yeah. And that's the feel I have. You know, it made sense for the type of movie that it was stylistically. But in Batman vs. Superman, I want to see the grit and the very personal reactions on their faces as they're, you know, clashing head to head. This is supposed to be a fight of two of the biggest warheads of the DC universe. These are the
even
two
in
people.
The comic book universe since the 30s. These are
biggest names. These are the guys you don't fuck with, you know? I mean, these are, and the being able to see all of their visceral reactions is something that's always good, but this felt like it was just kind of taking a step back and taking an observer's view of all the fights that were going on, and a lot of it was really hard to catch toward the end because these are superhumans moving at super speed, and they never really dumb it down for you.
See, I didn't have as much a problem with the stuff at the end with all the fighting, because that's honestly what I'd like to say I came for. I just thought a lot of the justification for some of the fighting, and then the first hour and 45 minutes were just an absolute nightmare. Yeah. I actually liked the end a lot. I was like, finally,
it was a good end.
Something is finally fucking happening.
Right.
Until the fighting stopped, and then it became a shit show again.
Yeah.
Oh my god. But
there's the moment before the fight, and then there's the moment after the fight. But
yeah,
it felt like they were two completely separate movies.
Dude, I was gonna say 3 or 4 separate movies.
Yeah, especially like it was a Batman movie, it was a Superman movie, it was a Justice League movie. Or and not then, even really a Justice League.
A Lex Luthor movie as well. And then pepper in Diana and Justice League, and I don't know.
It didn't mesh. It
did not mesh. And that being said, like I loved what they were going for a lot of it. Thematically, and this is why everyone was so hyped, like Superman, Christopher Reeve's Superman and Brandon Routh's Superman, they never went into, or at least in a cool kind of depth. Don't get me wrong, like those movies are important. Maybe not the Brandon Routh one, but I mean those movies are iconic. But they never like went into what this movie promised. Like how would a world react to Superman?
Yeah.
And from the trailers, like, oh man, that's what this movie's going to be about. And then when you actually watch it, it wasn't as much of a reaction at all.
No, it was really hard to see what the reaction was, if there was one to begin with, because there was that one scene when they had the whole saving that girl on the Day of the Dead, and everyone's trying to touch hands or kind of this very religious feel of these people worshiping him. And then, towards the other scenes, like the biggest, the explosion, in the courthouse or whatever. Yeah. Where everyone's got the signs and they're picketing and rioting. But, I mean, there's no real impact moment where they touch.
Like, that would be so cool to expand upon that more. How, don't get me wrong, and it's a shame because there's a lot of reasons why this didn't work out, because obviously it was a 2.5-hour movie. You had to introduce a whole bunch of new characters. You had to fit a bunch of time for other stuff. But so you didn't really get to show like the dichotomy of Superman's effect on the world. You had to be like told. You had to be told people had to say like, oh, Superman is bad for us or Superman is good for us. And like, what they did show was like just like a 2-minute montage of him doing good
and saving people, like, and there are a lot
that
of
doesn't mean anything. Exactly like you said. It's like that doesn't make me feel anything if all I get is like that tiny. Don't get me wrong, it's cool to see him like pull a freighter by the chain, or save that rocket in the air. I mean, it's just like, and it was cool because you saw it in the trailer and it's like, holy shit, that's epic. And then when you actually watch it on the screen, it's about as impactful as like what you saw in the trailer.
Yeah.
Which just like isn't a lot, because when you watch the trailer, you're like, oh man, there's going to be a story about him, say, with that rocket. And
you know what's really funny about that trailer? The one that everyone talks about where they said they spoiled the whole movie, it compressed maybe like 30 minutes in sequence of the movie. Like there weren't really any like real big spoilers, but all of the scenes taken from like all of these trailers really caught the best of the movie.
They really did. It really did. And I will even say the trailer that came after it, where Batman like takes out that room. I can't believe that was like the final clear.
On point.
I know, but we saw it already. You know what I mean? I mean, if you didn't follow all the trailers, that's fine. But like the marketing of this movie, you couldn't have not seen the trailers.
Right.
If you watched any movie, watched any commercial, you would have seen something.
Yep.
And I hate that was his last like clear. I thought that was going to be like, oh, Batman doing Batman things and like setting up him, but like that was the last thing, and I was like, I've already seen this, and I hate that this is supposed to be
the climactic Batman moment.
The climactic Batman moment. Because, I mean, we're going to get to it, but, like, I'm sorry, he didn't do anything against Doomsday.
And, you know, the funny part is there's like a little frame in there where you can literally just see him standing back and watching the fight.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. But we'll get to that. We got our initial things out the way, and we're going to cover more of it, but for the spoiler cast, we're going to kind of go through the movie chronologically and just talk about what we liked and what we mostly disliked, and where we saw potential and it didn't meet expectations, moments we got surprised with. And Christian's fresh from the movie. I saw it on Thursday, so he's gonna back me up if I forgot anything important. But let's start with the 18th retelling of Batman's past.
The completely unnecessary origin story that starts this thriller, this roller coaster of a movie. It is absolutely unnecessary, because we know going into this, it is Batman versus Superman.
I totally agree. Everyone is going to see this movie for Batman v Superman because they've seen at least one of the 8, 9, 10, 12 Batman movies are out there. Everyone knows the Darkness No Parents meme. Like, you've seen the Lego movie. I don't know. And I just don't think that that opening gave us anything new other than like the Martha thing.
I was going to say that sets up a completely... This is one of the biggest issues that I had going into this. We'll talk about it when we get there, but just for the folks listening, keep in mind that this entire like 20-minute intro of Batman being introduced as Batman, when you see the scene with him and his parents walking down the alley, they get shot. It all leads up just so you can remember the name Martha.
Yeah. Yeah. And we know Batman has mommy daddy issues, but that justification down the road for him to like kill or not kill Superman was an absolute letdown. By all means, was an absolute letdown.
That was very anticlimactic,
right? And the moment where he was being lifted by the bats, I was like, if this is real, I'm gonna lose my shit.
Yeah, it was really hard to tell. Like, there's a big thing in this movie about setting up dream sequences, and I don't understand it.
I mean, I was glad that he said, like, and then they lift me up into the light, but I don't exactly know who he was talking to.
Right. Was it a psychiatrist? Is it supposed to be like breaking the fourth wall?
Was it Alfred? I don't exactly know if it was a monologue, because this movie doesn't set up like a monologue precedence at all. And it could have worked. Like, if he did more monologues, then that would have been just fine. And it could have been even a better like storytelling mechanic if you like went through his mind as to why he really wanted to fight Superman, because the way it was unfolded to me, I didn't buy it for a second.
No, and that was one of the biggest things when you're setting this up. Why the hell does he want to fight him in the first place?
Well, okay. Let's lead to the next major part, the Metropolis incident,
which is Man of Steel.
I really liked this scene.
Yes.
A lot.
Okay.
This is a scene where, like, when we watch these superhero movies, if like Avengers 2, with like massive destruction, seeing it street level is really neat and kind of horrifying.
Yeah.
Like this, it really was horrifying.
You could see the debris and all of that, the clouds of just plumes of fire and smoke, and it was seeing,
the people and we've seen Man of Steel, so we know like what's happening, and it's cool that we see this from a different angle.
Yep. On the other side, though, I did have an issue with why the hell was Batman there to begin with?
Well, we know that they're so close, and we know, I guess,
like across the water from each other,
across the bay, even. Yeah. And I think that's, I don't know if that's entirely accurate. If you looked at like the DC map in the United States, I know they're very close. They're all in the New York, Boston area. Yeah. They're like pretty close, but I mean, yeah, I'm sure you're right. They didn't explain it.
And I wish they would have explained. Like, I get it. He had a building there, I'm assuming is what it was, because there were a lot of VPs, and someone said the boss says get out of the office. But who the heck was that guy?
Which one?
The one who started praying as he died.
I think he was meant to be as a bridge so we felt something when the building went down.
Yeah, and I can understand that, but at the same time, it's like he was meant to be, or they made him out to be someone who's like super, super important to Batman, to Bruce Wayne as a person, but we never find out who the hell he is later on. Like, we don't know anything.
I think that's about as much as we got. Which, it's a shame. But, I mean, I kind of bought it. I bought it a little bit.
Right.
Here's this man, and then Alfred...
who was amazing in this movie, by the way. I really liked Alfred.
And one of the coolest parts is when he talks about the feeling of powerlessness and how it makes good men cruel. And, like, that's kind of, like, how we're supposed to justify... Like, Alfred, like, warned him, that's what would happen to you, and that's kind of what did happen.
Right, because this was immediately following the introduction of the Batman when we find out that he's been branding villains for whatever reason.
Branding villains, and just, we know... Like, Batman has witnessed a world with someone who is like... I mean, he's been Batman for 20 years. And we're assuming nothing crazy or alien-y has happened in those 20 years. So he's seeing, like, this for the first time, and he just doesn't know what to fucking do except punch it in the face or try to punch it.
Because we know Batman has always had an answer. Batman always has a plan. But how do you plan for Superman?
Right. And that's... In general, that's what we wanted this movie to be about, but that's... Anyways,
we'll get there.
Let's get to the next part, the Africa incident.
I felt like it was believable to a degree, but I feel like it was kind of shoehorned in here just to set up the overall feel of, oh no, the world's against Superman kind of thing.
Right, and I didn't buy it.
Yeah, neither did I.
Buy it.
Like everything from when we start the desert scene up until Lois Lane starts giving her interview. All right, I can believe that. But the moment they catch the CIA agent with a camera?
Yeah. It's a little forced. And let's remind everyone that this is like the third opening to the movie.
Yeah.
All three of those like instances could have been openings to the movie, and we got them in sequence. It just felt disjarring, which a lot of this movie was disjarring. So, I mean, it's great that we got to see Superman for the first time in the movie, and when I got chills when even the witness at the courthouse said it, like there was a crack in the sky, because that's how you want to envision Superman.
Yeah, is this monstrous human being who can just plow through space and time and just
plow through the sound barrier, and like you just know, like, oh god, like
shit's gonna go down.
Right, like what? And then Lois just like nods her head, and then all of a sudden that guy's gone. And that's how I want my Superman, you know? Like, don't get me wrong, like Brandon Routh walking in front of a minigun is okay, or like whatever, but seeing that on screen, especially because it was the first 15, 20, or probably the first fucking 30 minutes, in all honesty. Shit took so long, but I was
seeing
like,
a man reduced to nothing in like literally the blink of an eye. You don't even know what's happening. She just kind of lowers her hands, lowers herself kind of into this feeble position, and all of a sudden the guy is missing.
And there's a hole in the wall. So, I mean, that guy's probably dead, but you know, that's okay. He's killed Zod.
That was another issue that I had, but that's a bigger thing.
I mean, a lot of people died in this movie.
Yeah, and not all of it was completely the fault of the villain. So there were a lot of superhero killings in here.
I mean, Batman did not give a fuck. Like, he was like, oh, you're in a car, let me flip it over on top of another car with more people in it.
Or even the whole, let me slingshot this crate into you towards the end. Oh my god.
I mean, we can interpret how we feel about Batfleck in a second. I do want to get to meeting Lex Luthor.
All right, let's do that.
Overall thoughts on Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor?
It was unique, but oh my god, did they make him out to be some kind of like super, I can't say it any other way than like kind of Tourette's-y autistic kid.
It was cringy.
Yeah.
It was cringy. And I appreciate reinterpretations of characters. I do. And like when we heard this casting, it was like, oh, Lex Luthor is the manifestation of the modern day businessman. I bought that. I was like, holy shit, there's all these tech guys, and that's so easily believable that someone like a Jesse Eisenberg Lex Luthor could be Lex Luthor.
Yeah.
But oh my god, don't get me wrong, he was deceptive and like manipulating, which is fine, but he didn't exude the confidence I want from a Lex Luthor.
Yeah, because Lex Luthor is supposed to be like this kind of shadowy head of corporate America, kind of, I have all the strings, I have all of the power, I am the master of my domain kind of guy. Right.
Like, I when he kind of lost it at his birthday party or whatever, right?
Yeah.
I ate it up so hard at the end when during Luthor's like ultimatum to Superman.
Yes, that was
like actually like I was like I had chills. I was like, holy shit, this is what I kind of wanted. And you could buy that he was hiding it, and I almost bought that he was hiding it, like he was just like a nerd almost, and as an act. But when he like lost it quote a little bit at his birthday party, I was like, nah, he's just kind of, he's not all there.
Weird.
You know,
I mean, you could tell it from when he brought that, like, whoever that businessman was that gave him like access to all the stuff he needed. That little Jolly Rancher scene was a little weird to me.
I just thought it was forced. Like, he doesn't need to be like that. Don't get me wrong; it's a power move, obviously, but
it's excessive and weird.
Just like, there's better ways to do power moves other than like shoving. Because like there are people there like watching him. It takes one photo of like Lex Luthor and this senator like scandal quote, I don't know, but
especially when apparently the Daily Planet's supposed to play a big role, but it never really does.
But we can jump more into Batman, Bruce, and Alfred. I really liked Alfred.
I think Alfred was definitely the most memorable of the duo, I feel, in this movie, because he just every time you saw Alfred, it was always something so insightful and so impactful as to what's going on in the movie. And what gets me about this is that some of it never gets resolved.
Yeah, no, I like that you said that, because Bruce Wayne is always doing something, and then Alfred always has commentary to it, like almost from like our side, because obviously we know that they're both good guys, and like Alfred is the only one who's like on the same side as us, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's saying like, dude, he's not your enemy. He's like, dude, you can't be doing this kind of shit. It's stupid. Like, and he's the voice of reason. Alfred. He's the voice of reason, and it's a shame that Bruce doesn't listen to him. But what did you think of his role as like a mechanic and versus like the straight butler?
I actually liked it, to be honest, a little bit, because it shows the dynamic that Alfred not only gives Bruce advice, he actually helps in the maintenance of this bat persona.
I really like that too. I like that you brought that up, because like it humanizes Bruce almost to know that like he can't do it all. He isn't doing it all, because Alfred is there when he gets home. Alfred is working on like, you know, X, Y, or Z, and don't get me wrong, he's got his breakfast if he needs it, but like he's doing real stuff too.
Yeah.
I mean, they only used he didn't have a lot of lines.
Yeah,
which is not there a lot. But
if you would have replaced like half of the lowest screen time with all Alfred time, I would have been okay.
Okay.
Yeah, we can get into Lois uselessly.
We can get into Lois in a sec. Because then that kind of brings us to the nightmares. Chronologically.
I don't even.
So, I count 2 or 3 dream sequences, right? The first one's the one where like, and then the bats carried me into life, the monologue into nothing.
Second one is the actual nightmare with like the crypt of his parents.
Okay, so this is. Oh, you're right. Okay, I forgot about that one. Yeah, that was really scary. I didn't see that one coming at all.
That was a completely unnecessary scene, dude.
And it is unnecessary because they didn't explain what it meant.
Right, because the way it's supposed to look, I guess, if you were looking at a normal Batman movie, is that would be the scene where you're seeing Bruce Wayne try to battle it out with his inner demons, kind of having to split the line between Bruce Wayne and Batman. But here in this movie, we never set up that kind of...
He doesn't have an internal problem.
Right.
Like, and that's like, what is that supposed to represent? And I've got nothing against him having an internal problem. Bruce Wayne is crazy as shit. He dresses up as a bat in the middle of the night. But, like, why is he
there was
having
no lead
nightmares
up
about bats? Like, if it was Superman who burst through the things and, like, choked him out, holy shit, that makes total sense. Or, like, because he's having nightmares over him. But, like, why is he having a nightmare about a bat?
Because the bats literally just carried him into the light.
Oh my god. Okay, so
can we talk about when he woke up from that scene and why there was a random woman in his bed? Is that supposed to be like significant? Because
he's just smashing ass. He's just smashing ass.
So that was just completely unnecessary. I felt
that's just Bruce Wayne smashing ass.
Yeah. So that was Bruce Wayne being Bruce Wayne.
Exactly.
Okay.
So the next big one is the Knightmare in like a fucking wasteland.
Now I'm kind of curious as to whether that was actually supposed to be a dream sequence, or was that somebody actually talking to Bruce Wayne?
Dude, so honestly, this might be simultaneously the worst part of the movie and the most intriguing part of the movie.
Right, because it's so confusing, but I guess if you manage to kind of nail down what it represents.
And DC comic fans do know. And it actually honestly scares the shit out of me in a good way.
Because we've seen those before. Those are the demons from whatever realm that is, right?
Right.
The parademons, I think?
They're called parademons. And so when we start this scene, this is honestly the worst scene, I think, in the movie for regular movie audiences because it gives them nothing. Because it just explains nothing and it gives them nothing to, like... for the rest of the movie.
It was unnecessary in that it added nothing, nor did it really fit.
It didn't fit. It just made it very destroying. But DC comic fans, I could see like being very excited for what we saw. So we saw the Omega symbol, which is Darkseid's calling card, who is DC's Thanos, basically. The big bad, the guy that... you're supposed to be scared shitless of.
He will wreck your shit regardless of who you are.
He will wreck your shit, exactly. And so it's just a really bizarre scene where Batman he's trying to get this kryptonite and he gets stopped by Superman soldiers and flying winged demons. So DC fans are supposed to recognize that those are parademons, which are the foot soldiers of Darkseid. But they didn't seem to be attacking the Superman people.
Which kind of leads you to the impression that they're working together to a degree.
Right.
And that's just a big no-no.
Yeah, it's either a big no-no or it's something that's foreshadowing something that's going to be really fucking crazy if they decide to go this route. Which I'm kind of afraid because, like, because it's not very well explained at all. And then afterwards you, like, see Batman like tied up and Superman comes down and he just like straight up murders two people.
Yeah, laser vision like, cuts straight through him. Yeah, that was horrifying.
It was actually incredibly scary.
Yeah, that was horrifying. And then that little moment where he pretty much just like wrecked Bruce's ribcage.
Yeah. Oh god. Yeah. But and then he just wakes up, right?
Yeah.
Well, like just, what?
Like everything's fine now.
As an audience member...
Don't forget the weird, like, he wakes up in the kind of Inception feel where, like, he wakes up in his desk, right? But then there's this big open portal and this guy's reaching towards him and saying, Lois Lane is the key! And then the guy vanishes and then Bruce Wayne wakes up. And now we're just like, oh. And he's like, am I too early? I'm too early! Okay.
I feel so bad for the audiences because, like, none of this means anything, and if they tried to hang on to it for the end of the movie to like give an explanation,
it's completely you're let down.
They will have and this is a scene that's just catered to DC comic book fans, in all honesty, because from what we all understand, that was supposed to be the Flash. It was
really?
The Flash. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And the Flash is a dimension crossing, time traveling, kind of like a Paul Revere.
Right, because the Speed Force, and the Speed Force encapsulates the unit. But, I mean,
It calls back to one of the first, like, huge events in DC history, Crisis on Infinite Earths, where the Flash is literally running across different universes.
Is this the Flashpoint Paradox?
No. This is before Flashpoint Paradox. Okay. This is, like, in the 80s. He's, like, running across universes, like, warning people, like, shit's about to go down. And, like, as a DC fan, you get excited because, like, you have this weird sequence where Superman is a tyrannical killer with Darkseid parademons and an Omega beam stamped on what we think is Earth. And then you have the Flash saying, Lois Lane is the key, you were right about him the whole time. I mean, I'm getting a very big Injustice feeling here.
Right, and that was the biggest indicator, is the fact that you saw Superman in this kind of menacing mode where he's just straight up slaying people.
He's got a regime behind him, and he says, she was my whole world. And then you've got what we think is the Flash, and he's got like armor on.
Yeah.
Almost. It's kind of weird.
And it's weird because you don't even see the Flash at this point. And you don't even really see him in the movie, aside from those small little video clips. We'll get into that.
We'll talk about Man Bun Ezra Miller.
Oh my god.
But
that was weird.
We'll talk about that.
But up until this point in the movie, you hit this like little 5 to 10 minute spiel, and you're just like, what the fuck is going on?
What the fuck is going on? This is honestly, and they said they weren't doing a post-credits scene. I hope you didn't stick around for one.
Right.
That honestly, that could have been a post-credit scene.
Yep.
That would have been an incredible post-credit scene.
And that would have been amazing as just this little cutout post-credit scene.
Right.
If you just removed that, placed it afterwards, and kind of condensed it.
Condensed it a little bit, right.
It would have
just
been
got like a scene. Yeah, I think it would have been cool, and you would have been like, it wasn't necessary for the flow of the film, but it teases something that could be incredible, because the Injustice storyline is incredible. Superman just goes on a bender when he accidentally kills Lois Lane in a fit of delusion, and he starts this regime, and it's basically like DC's Civil War. He just splits the entire universe in half.
Yep.
I mean, and I don't know if they're gonna do that, because you can't. I just don't think it can be done.
I think it's also a little too early in the lives of a lot of the DC superhero movies for you to be pulling such a big card out of the vault,
I know, and the DC hasn't earned it.
Right. And that was what I wanted.
They barely earned it with this movie.
That was what I wanted with this movie. This is the movie that I wanted them to set up and just immediately show that they are on par, that they can just, bump chests with Marvel and say, hey, we're on the same playing field.
Yeah. I mean, competition is great.
Yeah, and that's what I wanted out of this movie. I wanted that super awesome feel, but I feel like I was just left a little flat towards the end.
I was left a lot flat towards the end.
So I guess we'll move on to Clark Kent and the Daily Planet.
Yes, let's talk about Clark Kent's glasses and how poorly they... I watched a clip of Christopher Reeve as Superman in the old ones. And, dude, Christopher Reeve is a superb actor.
Yes.
Who embodied the shift between Clark Kent to Superman incredibly well.
It was so finely tuned.
Over. You can hear his voice change, and his glasses is fine, but and the hair, but just you could tell the difference immediately, and it's fantastic. But oh my God, Henry Cavill, I love you to death, but you're not fooling anybody, man.
Right. He was sporting the super I'm up in your face alpha male kind of feel, and he spoke back to the editor in chief, and I was what?
You're supposed to. Clark Kent is supposed to be your mask.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to show that. You're just supposed to be absolutely unnoticeable by all
you're supposed to be the stumbling, bumbling kind of stuttering idiot,
a clumsy kind of guy, and I was disappointed with Clark Kent, because I love Clark Kent. After reading All-Star Superman and then even watching Christopher Reeve's clip, I was like, Clark Kent is a fucking G. He's choosing to be forgetful and not even liked. He's choosing to be disliked. Because even in the comic books I'm reading now, he's not looked at by anyone. He like says, "Hey Lois," and Lois is like, "What's up, farm boy?" and like walks away. And then he's like,
what do you do?
This is the life I chose. You
Yeah,
know? And I can't let anybody get close.
Oh, and it leads into some of the really cool scenes that I remember seeing where he like uses his stumbling, bumbling idiotness to kind of still save the day in Clark Kent ways.
Right. No, and that's how I explained All-Star Superman covers it. Like, he'll bump into people, and then all of a sudden
something falls from the sky.
Something will fall from the sky, and then it'll land in the spot where the guy bumped. Or he'll, I don't know, but it's a shame. And this is, once again, it falls into the problem of this is a movie that's just got too much in it. Mm-hmm. So it can't drive these ideas that they want to bring home. Yep. So what did you think of Perry White and Lois Lane?
Oh, God, Lois Lane. I feel like she was unnecessary to a lot of the movie. I feel like she only existed as a plot point to help push the agenda of whatever he wanted to have happen at the end, and truth be told, her character didn't belong in a lot of those scenes.
I agree with you in the end. She should not have been there for any of it.
Right.
I actually liked her in the first half.
Because the reporter half of her, and especially the digging into the bullet that they found, that was what Lois Lane should have been doing.
Lois Lane. That's Lois Lane.
Pinnacle Lois Lane. And that was okay. That was great, because that's what we expect to have out of this super head on her shoulders reporter who wants to figure out the truth, especially about Superman.
Right.
But instead what we get is her just kind of bawling her eyes out for a little bit, and then like the weird romantic scenes that I think were a little forced. On top of that, those
weren't earned.
Let me pick up this spear of kryptonite because
my God,
I need to.
Why did she throw it away, and then why did she go back to go get it?
Exactly. Why was she
did not
even
know
there
that
to
Doomsday was? She did not know that Doomsday was
Kryptonian. She had no clue.
I don't know.
Why was she even there, though? Like, why did she... Like, I need a helicopter. I need to be there where these two guys are going to duke it out.
Yeah, I don't know.
She was there to say that Martha was his mother's name.
Oh, my God. We'll get to that in a sec. Perry White, what'd you think of him?
Oh, man. That was all right.
Yeah, I liked him.
That was all right.
I liked him. He's kind of like J. Jonah Jameson, you know? He's just like, I just like smiled whenever he had a scene. Yeah. Because he just had like, it was one-dimensional, but like, I could watch that dimension.
Yeah.
And watch it.
I could work with that.
He got like 3 minutes of screen time total, and all of 3 of those minutes were utilized perfectly to embody interacting between Clark and Lois, and that was perfectly fine.
Yep. That was
if we see more Man of Steels, I'd see him again. Okay, before we get to Diana Prince's Wonder Woman, let's talk about Gal Gadot. I actually honestly don't know.
I think it's Gadot. I always heard Gadot, but I know people say Gadot
too. Anyways, let's talk about her presence before she puts on the costume. She probably had in total
a lot.
No, well, I was gonna say 5 to 10 lines.
Yeah, but she was there. She was there a lot.
Mm-hmm. What do you think? No costume.
Just her in like the slinky dresses, being this kind of schmoozing shoulders, like higher society kind of type.
Yeah.
It was, I mean, I don't know anything about Wonder Woman as a whole, but it felt a little, again, unnecessary that we see. I mean, I know that we needed to see her, I guess, at some point, but it was a little weird to have her without really showing who she was, without spoiling it. And I know that's something that they had to take into consideration, but like the scene where she was at his birthday party, the first time you ever see her, I guess it was just kind of the weird snide hints towards, she's going to be a big deal in the movie.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I bought a lot of her plot. Not plot as in like seeing a female on movies, 'cause that's a different connotation. But I believed that.
Right.
And before we actually get to like what was on the files, I believed that her intervening, even though I can't fully buy how she knew, I mean, don't get me wrong, she's lived for 5,000 years or whatever, but like, I don't buy as much how she knew Bruce had like something there.
Right, and that was my biggest thing. That was really only there to serve them meeting about the sword, and that was a little weird too.
Yeah.
Is that something that's like big to her character? Does she have that sword? Is that what she was using to cut?
No, I think that was just her. She's lived for 5,000 years. She appreciates history, and she like, I mean, I liked the interactions between Bruce and Diana.
Mm-hmm.
I thought like it showed both of their characters
very well.
Very well. I thought like she held her own, not like Gal Gadot versus Ben Affleck, but like
as
Diana Prince.
As Diana,
versus, yeah, Diana Prince versus Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, she matched him toe for toe.
She matched him toe for toe and like left him with his mouth open.
Mm-hmm.
And I like my mouth was open.
And that's what's supposed to happen.
She got or he got wrecked so bad.
He did, especially the moment when she gets in her car and drives off.
Yeah.
Oh man, it was a quintessential Bruce and Diana moment, though. I mean, and it was good. It's just I feel like the lead up into it was forced, like you said, because how the hell does she know that's there?
Yeah. Like, don't get they were after the same thing, but that doesn't explain how or why. And once again, it's just because there's too much in this movie, and we know Zack Snyder's gonna have 30 minutes more. That's promised to have Jenna Malone as Batgirl. I'm sure it explains a couple of these plot points, but
like this suit with the spray paint on it. Is it the Robin suit, I think?
Yeah, I mean, I don't even think we'll get that reason. I just think that's Zack Snyder appealing to comic book fans, getting people talking. But once again, that's like, you're right. That was a pointless part in the movie. And like in the trailers, it's cool because like, oh man, that's going to be a part of something. That's going to play a factor.
It's going to be something big.
Holy shit, it meant nothing.
Exactly.
It was cool.
You're left thinking, like, what the hell happened? Like, did Robin turn into the Joker? Is that what that entire dialogue is between Bruce and Alfred? Because they had this entire talk about how how heroes don't always stay good.
Yeah, and I've heard the theory that applies to Robin becoming a Joker. I do like to think that is... It could be Two-Face, Harvey Dent. Mr. Freeze. But, I mean, dude, a lot of people had crazy theories for this movie, and a lot of them didn't play out. Mm-hmm. So I'm trying not to put too much into the
follow-ups.
Joker is Tim Drake. Mm-hmm. What is it called? Tinfoil hat?
Yeah.
But, I mean, if it does happen, holy shit. But, like, I can't disappoint myself again. All right, let's talk about Sketchy Luthor and his Doomsday quest.
He went a little psychopathic.
Dude, I just thought his whole acquiring all of that shit and then just like fucking around with it, I just didn't find any of that interesting or believable.
Yeah, because the biggest thing about Luthor isn't that he does the handiwork himself. It's that he sets up these huge, gigantic machines of plots that involve a lot of people in others. Like, he's not the one who you can point and say he pulled the trigger. This is the guy who holds...
so right.
You know? He's the back-end mastermind where you don't know that he's got any interaction.
He's supposed to be untouchable. Mm-hmm. And, like, even in the DC comic universe, like, don't get me wrong, Superman always outs him, but the man becomes president one day, you know? And you're supposed to buy that everything he's done was for, like, the greater
what he
good
believes
of
is the better
mankind.
good.
Right. And I just like seeing him, you're right, like him this hands-on. But how else are you going to do it?
Exactly.
Because you ain't got time for that shit. You don't have time to, like, unfold his master plot, but I just didn't buy any of it.
Right. And, I mean, like we talked about in another episode where we talked about that one specific scene I saw out of that, I think it's like the Superman, All-American Superman or something.
Mm-hmm.
All-Star, yeah. Where he's...
Oh, no, you're talking about...
that one dialogue.
American Alien or something.
Yeah, where, Lex Luthor is like, how the hell are you going to pin this on me? You're an idiot.
Right. And that's... Oh god, his finger marks are everywhere.
Yeah, you could trace everything back to him. Jesus Christ.
And maybe it's an early iteration of Lex, but like you can't, I don't know, you can't bank on evolving Lex through several movies that might not even happen. Mm-hmm. But
it's just sad that it went the way it had to go.
I did like Mercy Graves, his assistant.
Mm-hmm.
She had a lot of screen time, surprisingly.
Yeah, I thought she was going to play a bigger part.
Yeah, she did not.
And then
she played a pretty big part. She was actually on screen a lot. She didn't have a lot to say, but
I guess her biggest part was the whole Mr. Wayne, what are you doing here?
Yeah.
And then just she's gone.
Well, I mean, God, the comic book in me is showing. She's kind of like a machine.
Oh,
or like
okay.
Later on. So I mean, I don't know if they're gonna set that up, but like she's like his bodyguard, and she can part robot. I don't fucking know, dude. It's comic books.
Kind of like Cyborg.
Kinda, yeah. Okay. So that sets up an opportunity, but
we'll see. There's a lot of loose ends for them to tie up.
She was fun to look at. And so you're right. That leads right into the hearing. I just want to talk about this because this movie did not make me feel a lot. In all honesty, just like not even like happiness or awesomeness or anything, except for when this bomb went off.
Yeah,
that was the one time I didn't know it was gonna happen, and I just like covered my mouth, and it was just because I was like, holy shit. And then seeing Superman like stand there, like with flames around him, and he's just like losing his shit, like because like everyone is dead around him, and he's like totally unharmed. That for me was like a perfect way to characterize Superman and what I wanted that whole movie to be about. It was just like moments like that. I don't know how, but that's not my fucking job, you know?
I did appreciate this scene to a degree, although on the opposite side, I think I was kind of expecting it ever since Lex gave the guy the wheelchair.
Yeah, you're right. And maybe just because I wasn't paying attention, but
it wasn't necessarily that I called the bomb out, but I thought he was going to do something, like whether or not Lex had made a bullet made of kryptonite or something. Yeah. I just knew that guy was going to do something fucked up.
Yeah, no, you're right. And I should have saw that, and I didn't. I was just like, oh, he did it to clean him up, and I bought it. Whether or not that's viewer ignorance or me having other feelings about the movie, what was going on.
And there are a lot of feelings to be had, regardless of whatever side of the spectrum you're on.
Right. Well, and I don't know. Like this movie, we'll get my real opinion at the end. We'll get because I have something interesting I wanted to say about this movie as a whole overall. But,
all right.
So after the bombing happened, it triggers Bruce. Trigger alert, right?
Yeah.
So Bruce like goes into like full production mode. This is a fucking Rocky montage, and roided out Ben Affleck. Holy shit, he was scary.
Yeah,
dude, just like everything his fucking.
It was it was a Rocky montage. It really was.
It was a Rocky montage in
him swinging the mallet on the tire and doing all this weird crazy shit.
Like, I want to pull a tire, don't you?
Right?
I want to see if I can do it.
I want to get Batfleck ripped. That's what I want to get.
Dude, Batfleck ripped. Well, and then there was earlier in the movie, the Henry Cavill without his shirt on.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my god, Jesus Christ. Like, get a job.
It's his job is to work out, I suppose.
I know. Both of them, their jobs are to work out.
I think before we lead into that, it's the moment that they start preparing for war when Bruce gets all of those reply things when he's like, wasn't that guy getting our money?
Yeah.
And I don't quite understand where the trigger happened for him to get even more mad at Superman, because it's quite obvious that guy was going and losing his shit to begin with. Yeah. When he sent back all of those checks. You know what I mean? So like that was a little disconnect to me where
you're right. Don't get me wrong, like he triggered, I don't know.
Like I guess when he initially saw the footage, it's kind of like, oh man, Superman decimated this, but you even heard it in a little bit of the newscast. They're like, it's assumed this guy had a bomb.
Right.
And Batman got the letters back.
Right, and it's like whether or not Superman knew or didn't know about the bombs is up to, I don't know, but that's not a reason to go fight a god.
Yeah, right.
Sorry. And once again, guess who's the voice of fucking reason?
Alfred.
He's like, this is suicide. Like, what do you...
Yeah.
And And okay, so the important thing to take away from this was the Wayne legacy. Mm-hmm. Okay. I personally thought this was some people didn't buy this. I kind of bought it because from what I understood, this is a world where Batman is for the first time seeing something way greater than Gotham City, you know? Mm-hmm. And when he said, like, this might be the most important thing I've ever done, you can roll your eyes at that because it's like, if you weren't really engaged in Batman, in a 20-year-long Batman career, like, that wouldn't hold any weight. And I blame the movie for not, like, driving that in.
But even like, Alfred's the voice there where he's like, you mean 20 years fighting villains and saving people isn't something worth mentioning?
Right. But I loved Bruce's response to that.
Right.
Because the cynicism in him said, like, they're like weeds. You pull one, you get a bunch of other ones.
He said, like, this is about the future of humanity.
But like, what I do here is important. And I just think that is so important for a Batman to exist in this kind of world.
Right.
Because you can't even imagine Nolan versus Batman, like, seeing a Superman. It wouldn't make sense.
Nope.
Like, it just wouldn't.
Yep.
Just like his whole methodology and how he became that Batman, which is fine on its own, but it doesn't belong in this universe. And I just thought Bruce Wayne, that moment where he says this might be the most important thing I've ever done, it resonated with me. But I'm a very niche in the however million people are watching this movie. That wasn't for everyone.
Right.
I could see that being incredibly corny because it's like, you just wouldn't buy it if you weren't engaged.
That is one thing that I had an issue with, was the amount of cheesy one-liners that we got out of it. But let's we'll get to that.
I didn't think there were that many.
Oh man, there were a couple.
Because I blame Marvel for doing cheesy one-liners a lot.
Right.
Like, and being quippy. Don't get me wrong. The "Is she with you?" and that. It was okay. I mean, it was pretty bad. It was
okay. So there are a couple of things that I want to talk about with that, actually, because
sure.
Like, Marvel specifically tailors characters to make these witty one-liners, so maybe it's a little bit more believable. Like, Tony Stark's supposed to be an asshole. Spider-Man's supposed to make these quips, but like, coming from Batman and Superman, who are kind of like the epitome of serious faces, it's a little weird to hear some of the lines, like the very, very important, "Is she with you? No, I thought she was with you."
Yeah.
Or towards the end where, you know, Wonder Woman asks a very important question. "Why do you think they have to fight?" He's like, "Just a feeling."
Okay. Yeah, all right. You fair enough. Okay, one-liners versus quips. They are different.
Right.
Don't get me wrong, because we've gotten them for so many years, I've begun rolling my eyes at Marvel's quips.
Mm-hmm.
Don't get me wrong, that shit was funny in the first Avengers, but when Captain America is yelling language every other
right.
second,
that gets boring.
That's fine. But like, that's not even important to like the movie. That's just me like not having a personal taste in that.
Right.
You're right. That shit is just poor writing. Mm-hmm. It's just poor eye-rollingly bad writing.
Well, and that's such the weird thing, because that specific line anyway, the "just a feeling" line, is supposed to set up what comes next.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be him leading into, like, okay, now that you've explained it, this dream with the parademons, or what the hell happened to Robin.
That'd be a fantastic fucking time to...
But instead, we just fucking get "just a feeling."
That end was a nightmare.
It was almost on par with him being like, "My bat sense is tingling." Yeah,
and just that's another thing I want to talk about towards the end when we get our overall thing. But all right. So we already talked about Luthor's ultimatum. I thought it was one of the stronger scenes.
Yes. Oh man, where you really see Lex Luthor bring out the hammer, and he's just like, "Well, look what I have. I have like, all of the toys and all of the cards. What do you do?"
And everyone, like, I try to explain Lex Luthor as a villain to people, and it's hard because he's not a Joker. He's not, I mean, I don't even know. But when you say villain of Superman, it's Lex Luthor, right?
Right.
But, like, why? Why?
Mm-hmm. Because he's and you can't even really say why, right?
You
because
really can't, because he's not like, he can't like physically fight him
or
anything.
And sometimes Lex Luthor, you can kind of see yourself in that perspective where you're just like, okay, well, I mean, even though he's doing it in a way that I wouldn't do it, he's got a mindset that makes you believe that, well, shit. I mean, he's charismatic enough to say something and make you believe it. And that's the point of Lex Luthor, is that he's not the guy who fights with his hands, he fights with his words.
Right. And that's, and you can't even use the older Supermans, because that Lex Luthor was like motivated by greed and real estate, and it's just like, that's corny, campy, like villain talk, you know? That's like the joke, like thinking the Joker is motivated by like getting money. Like, that's wrong. That's just like a poor characterization of him. Like, but the Lex we saw here, where it was chilling, like him holding the cards and Superman being able to do nothing. Right. Like him just pushing Amy Adams off and saying, there was only one way to call him, you know, and just like pushing him off. Yeah. And it was like, holy shit, like that's fucking fantastic, you know? Especially
finally when you see Superman for the first time in this entire movie is brought down to his knees. It didn't take anything. It didn't take anything but words.
And Lex Luthor like holding his hand out to like touch his face or something. Yeah. It was like gross and awesome at the same time.
It was, and that's what I feel was a really, really good identifying part of the Jesse Eisenberg Lex Luthor. That was a quintessential moment for him.
And in this movie, it has a couple of great characterization moments. Like, and then I bring up again the hearing scene with Superman and this scene with Lex. I just wish it had more of them.
Yes.
There's one or two more that come more to mind, but like, this shitty story aside, those were the moments I was really looking for, and I'm glad I was able to get 3 or 4 of them. But for a 2.5 hour movie,
you should have had more.
I should have had more.
You should have had Lex playing the businessman, being able to say, you know, like, instead of asking for certain things from a man who apparently has nothing better to do than give him access, he should have just forced him via all of this background information, maybe dropped a file on his face and said, hey, look at what I've got. I want access now.
Right, exactly. Yeah. A little disappointed in the rest of it, but I'm glad we got this ultimatum.
The god bows before me kind of thing.
Yeah, him just like sitting crisscross applesauce, and then like after you push Lois Lane, to even like him rotating that clock.
Yeah,
it was just like perfect timing. He like did it before, he didn't know what the fuck he was doing, and then all of a sudden at the end he like pulls it out again. It was just like he had control of the board, and that's how I wanted my Lex.
Yeah, because that's what your Lex is supposed to be.
And that's how, so I enjoyed that. That was good. Oh god, let's get to the teasers here.
All right. And so, oh man, these teasers.
So before like the big fight, Bruce Wayne takes a couple seconds out of his day to go email Diana Prince. How he gets her email, who gives a shit?
Who gives a shit how he has Wonder Woman's email?
They did not exchange names or well,
they did exchange pleasantries, but it doesn't.
Well, actually, I guess Lex might have known who she was. Maybe who gives a shit? Anyways, she's got a file, and it's got like four files in it, right?
And it's got the symbols.
It's got
all of the symbols because all of the spoilers, and he just really wants to rub it in your face that there's going to be a Justice League movie.
Yeah, because the modern audience are 12-year-olds who can't understand. I don't know. Who can't infer, by the way.
And I don't quite understand.
If you just showed this, didn't have the symbol, and the symbol is not like important, it's just like, god damn it, you know? Yeah. It's really not important to the quality of the film. It's just like missed opportunity. Like,
you know what the best part about it is, though? Where the hell did those images come from? Because they sure as hell aren't super big superheroes yet. Maybe. So where did the A come from? Where did the lightning bolt come from?
Right.
Where did the C for cyborg come from? Let's get that serious.
Oh my god. Okay.
Or the Wonder Woman insignia.
That's pretty bad. You're right, because if they could have just shown the James Cameron like machine that goes in the bottom of the ocean thing, right? Mm-hmm. And then all they had to do was show that scene,
or they could have
like
just showed file
creeping out.
names, like just say Aquaman, because that's a code name.
I don't even think it needs that. I just think all you needed to see was Jason Momoa coming out with a trident, stabbing the thing, and then blasting off
because that was fucking awesome.
Holy shit! I totally agree with you because I got chills because it's the same as the sonic boom thing with Superman from earlier.
Oh man,
it was just like, if we're gonna get an Aquaman movie, that's gonna be set like 80% underwater,
and that is what I wanted
awesome
from my Aquaman. So that has me super psyched because to me, like, of the DC pantheon, Aquaman is probably to me one of the most underappreciated heroes.
Dude, Aquaman is fucking badass,
like,
man. I'm so excited.
Much ass, and the fact that we get to see fucking Khal Drogo,
dude. I'm so glad you enjoyed the sonic boom underwater because I was like, holy shit, okay. I could watch this movie because just, oh God. Man.
Especially like,
it's awesome.
When you kind of see his eyes kind of glowing in the dark in the beginning when you see that diver go in there and you're like, I know this is supposed to be Aquaman, but I mean, what the fuck is that?
And then you just
all of a sudden you see his
like,
face and he holds the guy down, he's got the trident, and then he just stabs something and then
and it's fantastic.
Which is really sad because by contrast, the Flash introduction was so weak.
Okay. Oh my God. Ezra Miller is the Flash. I have no idea what's going to happen, man. Man bun Ezra Miller.
I mean, like, I get it. It was cool and all, but I feel like it was such in comparison to the other, like, kind of origin, like, little teasers, that one was a little weak.
Yeah. I honestly, I just didn't get too excited. You're right. And maybe because we're desensitized because we watch The Flash and we have a Flash in our mind.
Yeah. But I mean, all of them actually really seemed weak in comparison to the introduction of Aquaman. Like, Cyborg's introduction was a little confusing if you don't really...
It was a fucking nightmare.
Yeah.
I hate that was...
His introduction?
That we saw his origin story.
Yeah.
I hate that we saw it right there because that scene is supposed to hold so much weight. It's really supposed to hold that much weight. And... because, I mean, that's his son, that Dr. Silas Stone. That's his son, Victor, on there. And you're supposed to know that... I mean, and I'm sure we'll see it, but like when he gets his own movie and stuff.
But I feel like this is going to take away from that.
Exactly, because we're supposed to know that... I mean, the way he's broken because his son is involved in an accident and he is pushing ethical limits... And there's a lot of drama and there's a lot of father-son moments. And then just seeing it all happen right there, I was like, this is not... This is one of the most important black superheroes. And no.
What I feel they should have shown is a little akin to Aquaman. Maybe like some kind of war zone with a lot of dust. You just see maybe like a flash of blue. His arm cannon comes out. And then that goes away and the camera goes blurry. And that would have been an amazing introduction to Cyborg.
Oh, absolutely. I mean... I just don't know because you're right. How do they know he's Cyborg and why did the camera stop and I don't know.
Yeah, because what the hell was that blue box is something that needs to be explained in the other movie. That doesn't need to be shown here at all.
Even I don't know what that fucking blue box is.
So, I mean, it was completely unnecessary in the term of all the introduction. Like, even Wonder Woman's, like, all of them had video clips, and hers was just her doing normal person shit.
Well,
it's like,
let me
swipe my card.
Oh, okay, you're right. It was just a picture. I was talking about the picture. You can see Chris Pine in there.
Yes.
So I am excited for the Wonder Woman, and we'll talk about that later.
Right.
But
who is Chris Pine supposed to?
Steve Trevor, the love interest.
Oh, okay.
He's just like a normal average Joe.
He's just a guy.
All right. So let's talk about the fight,
which was by far
the Batman v Superman
the best
fight.
Part of the movie.
Dude, I kind of disagree.
Really?
I like the Doomsday fight a lot more than the Batman v Superman
I thought we
fight.
meant just like that entire sequence.
Nah, let's. I want to talk about the Batman v Superman fight.
It was short.
It was short
for a movie titled Batman v Superman. It was super short,
and we saw most of it in the theater in the trailers.
Yeah.
Like that fight should have been something so much more.
Yep.
And don't get me wrong, it had a lot of cool moments that you didn't see in the trailers. Like the scene where like he's punching Superman and it's like working until
and then
it stops. I was like, oh fuck, Jesus, Ben, get out of there.
And then
Bruce,
like,
get out of there.
and then he breaks his like glove on Superman's chin. And you're just like, oh god, shit's about to get real.
And just then, even like when they've just started to fight, and then Superman just like pushes him with like zero effort, and Bruce is just on the floor.
Yep.
I was like, dude, you're just fucked. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but what got me also on the Batman side of things was after the second infusion of kryptonite, where he like ties a grapple around his leg and then just knocks him into all of those pillars.
Yeah, that was pretty awesome. I ate that shit up.
That was a good. It was a good scene.
I wanted more of the trap preparation stuff.
Yeah, because
like,
we really only got 2 traps.
We got
the sound thing, and
sound
then
thing,
the
which
miniguns.
is really cool, and they didn't explain. But like, honestly, that should have like, I don't know. Like, it's a really cool concept because
it's because of
hearing.
Superman's hearing. Yeah,
right. But there's like another cool scene. I don't know, because if you watch The Dark Knight, like the graphic novel / movie that inspired this, generally, like he has a bunch of traps like all over the place, and they're not all blown in the first like 2 seconds of the fight. You know what I mean? Like
he
the
blew his wad
gun.
early.
He blew the wad so early. Like he just has like things all over the place. Like he like connects his gloves to like the power grid and just like gorilla slaps him, and I don't know. It just could have been more fighting.
Yeah.
I just wish there was more fighting.
They really drove home Tank Man because it was nothing but him in a power suit for most of the fight. And I do agree that I wanted more of my, not necessarily conniving, but my scheming Batman, because that is what Batman does. Batman plans for the plan in case another plan goes wrong.
And we kind of got some of that with the spear being right there, but like that wasn't even like that clever.
I think that was like shitty timing too, because even as Batman, there's no way you can really guarantee that Superman's going to be at that particular point unless...
Right. Because Superman's the one who put him on top of that building in the first place.
Exactly.
Right? Like, remember, like he just throws him up there?
Yeah. He fucks his shit up.
And I guess Batman's whole plan was to fight, because that was the building with the bat signal on it.
Right.
Because when when Superman throws him into it, I thought that was awesome.
Yep.
But you're right. The whole fight was probably like 5 to 10 minutes long if you cut it together right. Mm-hmm. Which ends in
Martha.
The spear of destiny, like protect Martha. And okay, before the fight, I do love that Superman like tried to reason with him first.
Yes.
I like that. I was like, I need your help. Not like I'm gonna do it.
Right.
I'm gonna kill you for my mom. Like I need your help.
What pissed me off is Batfleck not listening for like all of 2 seconds. You're supposed to be Batman.
You're supposed to be super smart, and you got manipulated the shit out of.
Right. You got taken out. So you got played. You played yourself.
Yeah. Oh God.
Christ, man. Christ alive, man. Be more of Batman.
Batfleck. God damn it.
Be more of a Batman.
So God, there was just so much wrong with how the spear and how him coming to his senses was just poorly done.
Yep.
I was hoping it would be something so much more.
And mind you, this is the climax of the movie. This is really...
It's supposed to be... God, they are supposed to be friends, and God damn it, there was just nothing there. They're supposed... Like, in my head, they are friends, and the scene, like, their connecting moment is their moms are both named Martha, which is fine, but like that's not.
But that's the whole reason they stopped fighting. Are you fucking kidding me?
Oh my God!
Why did you say that name?
There's one thing I want to say, and I'm saving everything for the end. But I will say that if it's implied the right way, Superman does have an effect on Batman, and we see that when Batman refuses to brand Lex, and he, you know what? I'll talk about it later. Let's talk Doomsday. Let's talk Doomsday. The Doomsday fight.
Yeah, that was. Oh man, it was a shit show from start to finish. Man, it was all over the place, but it was good choreographs. It was, and I mean, the reveal, obviously, the very big reveal that we get of Wonder Woman.
Okay, so let's talk Wonder Woman. What do you think?
It was just really weird. I don't have any feelings one way or the other towards Wonder Woman right now, but suffice to say, I'm not really sure that she earned her spot in the movie as that, like, in that particular role. Because, like, as Diana Prince and as, this high society type, then it was a little bit more believable. And if she had just left on that plane as intended, I think it would have been okay. But
see, I thought it was really cool that she was about to go. She was just about to get the fuck out of there. Mm-hmm. She got what she needed from the files. And then just the way she was like, fuck it, I'll go down there.
Right.
I liked it. You're right. It wasn't like her motives, and people are split between the mysteriousness of Diana Prince and Wonder Woman as being pros and cons. I honestly think it's an unintended mysterious factor. Mm-hmm. I just think they didn't have time to, like, justify everything.
Because you're shoehorning in so much. You can't shoehorn in the rest.
But I fucking loved her in that fight scene.
Oh, she was amazing in the fight scenes. Like, especially the way she kind of, like, thrived in the battle. Because she was grinning the whole fucking...
That grin, I got,
Is
like,
it me or
chills.
did she get a little turned on in that fight? That was a little awkward.
She got thrilled, and that's the fucking Wonder Woman I want to see. She won, like, I mean, she talked about later in the movie, she, like, retired from doing all this shit, right? 100 years ago, probably, whatever happened with Steve Trevor, that we'll see in the Wonder Woman movie. But, oh man, I'm just watching her hold her own on screen, on the big screen, in a way we've never seen. Even like don't get me wrong, Black Widow is important and Scarlet Witch are important female roles.
They're not the powerhouses that Diana... The Wonder Woman is Wonder Woman. Let's get that straight.
Yeah, like, seeing those people on screen doing really cool things is great. And I think Black Widow is doing fantastic things for girls growing up now with superheroes. Mm-hmm. But, God, seeing her hold her own, both as Diana Prince and then now Wonder Woman... Even especially when Batfleck was just watching the damn thing.
Fucking
fantastic.
My favorite is the oh shit moment as soon as the Bat glider, whatever it is, goes down, and Doomsday is just like, well, I'm just gonna burn your ass. Batfleck is just kind of like, oh shit.
The oh shit was. I think that was one of two times the audiences laughed.
Yeah,
because it was just like fantastic, like.
And it was, and that wasn't like a cheesy one-liner kind of thing. That was an oh shit moment.
That was good. That was
good delivery. Perfect placement. Yeah,
good writing and good delivery.
And then right there, the introduction with the bangles, which are like super big, right? Those are a huge part of.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then I think that was my favorite part. Actually, is that yes, we got to see the bangle, and yes, the lasso made an appearance.
Yes, dude, that lasso tie. I was like, oh my god, and you could just see her like. Anchoring herself and holding it down.
The best part is that she was holding him down.
She was holding him down pre-Kryptonite blast, and it was just like, dude, this I want to see her in Greek mythology fighting gods and monsters, and just like, if this is what it's gonna be like,
that's gonna be
just
baller.
Like dancing around shit. I'll fucking watch it. I'll pay whatever you fucking want. I will watch it.
That is something that I did want to ask about, like. Her other accoutrement are the shield and sword, do they have any special characteristics as a Wonder Woman utility, or were those just there for show? Because as far as we know, Doomsday is Kryptonian. How the hell did she cut him with a sword?
Dude, shit's probably magic.
I guess,
Kryptonians
weak to magic.
Immune to magic.
That's right.
Dude, but none of it's explained, and that's just comic book rationale.
But that's not normally part of her accoutrement, right? The sword and shield, or is it?
In New 52, her sword and shield, and they're probably not going to follow it, but like they can be pulled out by her bangles. Her bangles are like magic.
Well, she did, like, they appeared out of nowhere, didn't they? Because she showed up with the bangles. She didn't show up with the shield.
I think it could have been on her back.
Oh, okay. That could have been it, yeah.
Because I just drew a picture of her, plugging my art, and she's got like a sword strap
Okay.
in her design.
Okay.
So it might be there. Otherwise, that's a plot hole. A shitty plot hole.
That'd be cool. That would be cool if they included that little bit of just a little tidbit of Wonder Woman, that her stuff could come out of her magically enchanted garments.
And it's classic Greek mythology stuff. Hephaestus, he made it for her. And it's supposed to. I don't know. It's Wonder Woman. She's got good comics. If you're a Greek fan, basically most of her comics are her dealing with the selfishness of Greek gods.
Well, that's actually what kind of makes me laugh, because we talk a lot. There are a lot of parallels in this movie between gods and man, and it just makes me funny that Lex Luthor is so focused on Superman as a god when there are actual gods. Like, there are real gods out there,
and he may or may not be alluding to them, especially towards the end when he talks about the bell has been rung. They know the god is dead. Like, who knows? I don't know, but
that's why I feel like when he talks about that, because he also makes a lot of allusions to space, so that's obviously a Darkseid reference. Well, I feel anyway that you couldn't have a more obvious Darkseid reference.
People are saying Brainiac might be
the next big thing.
Yeah, we don't know.
That'd be interesting.
Justice League. God, we're running so long, but there's a lot to talk about.
There is a lot to talk about. This is a huge movie to try and dissect, especially with a lot of the different things they try chucking in there. I mean,
with the implications they're trying.
And a lot of the implications they may not even be trying, but there's a lot of stuff in there that you leave up to the imagination of the reader, and that's what we're doing. We're using our imagination here.
Oh yeah, we're imagining the shit out of it because the movie was so bad and telling us that all we can do is imagine. So let's talk the big death. God damn it! I did not give a shit. I'm sorry.
I didn't, and that's the worst part. It's like
I know. Supposed to.
It was like the final 15 to 20 freaking minutes of the movie, and I don't feel a damn thing because I couldn't give less of a shit that Superman died, because he didn't set it up in a way. And no, actually, I think it's going into this, you should never have had Superman die in the fucking first place, because this is Batman vs. Superman, Dawn of Justice. I'm expecting Superman to fucking be there later. And lo and behold, he's gonna be there later.
Yeah. But they're gonna have to go through the whole explaining this shit.
So is there a reason?
Jesus. Well, it's the only reason I can see is because when Superman died in the comic books for the first time in the 70s or 80s, and the death of Superman, it was one of the biggest deals in comic book history. And I think we talked about it in the previous podcast with Max Landis thing. He goes into a rant about how in the comic book world, like, the death of Superman fucked comics over for forever, because it was the first time they ever did a main character died and then a year later they bring him back, and how that was just a giant fuck you to the readers, like, just kidding, he's alive and we're selling him again type of thing.
Yeah,
but because it was a big deal, people cried. The way he explained it, like, it was a big fucking deal when he died. I mean, in that print media world, I don't know, but I just feel like when you have Doomsday, you kind of have to kill Superman. Or that's what Zack Snyder thought. You had to kill Superman. And it's just a shame that no one's going to be crying over this.
Right.
Not like when you read it in the 70s or 80s. I really should know that date, but I don't.
But I mean, even then, you don't get much time to cry about it anyway, because he doesn't leave it open-ended.
Nope.
Because the moment, like, tiny little microsecond before the screen fades, what do you get? You get Earth rising above the tomb.
Yeah.
And what the hell is that supposed to be? Because I sure as hell don't fucking know. I mean, like, I assume, do you know if there's a reason for that?
Other than, like, bullshit, he's back, he's alive again. Which doesn't make sense because, like, he survived a nuclear blast. But guess what? He was right next to the sun, so, like, cool. I guess that makes sense.
He's not getting any sunlight now.
Nah, not on the ground, he's not.
And the whole, like, engagement ring thing, that was forced as fuck.
Yeah, I just felt nothing for Lois Lane after the whole, let me throw the spear inside the water and let me go get the spear out of the water. I was just like, all right, Lois, you were cool when you were investigating the bullet, but, like, that was a nightmare.
That was fucking terrible.
And you're right. And then we got to Bruce Wayne and Diana Prince being all cryptic about uniting everyone and how we're all going to have to fight. It's just so forced, and we're supposed to be grieving over Superman, and it just, none of it landed.
And that's one of the other frickin' lines that I had a problem with is the "I failed him in life, I will not fail him in death."
And okay, so I'm going to defend that line. I'm going to defend it on how I read in a review once. This is not my idea, but I mean, Superman was supposed to be inspiring. His all doing goodness is supposed to inspire people, and I like to think that Batman wasn't going to be as cruel as he used to be, as exemplified by him sparing Luthor, quote, quote, because he believed that it should be done Superman's way, because he was so wrong in doing his way as he killed a bunch of people on his path to kill Superman, so to speak, that I do like to think that that was him saying, like, I'm going to do things different next time.
And I can appreciate that if we had gotten more time for them to bond.
Yes, and holy shit, I had to read reviews from a guy who probably has been reading Batman and Superman comics from the 50s to even come up to that idea. If that's what Zack Snyder was shooting for. I don't know.
Right.
But you're right. That line was awful because we had no context to it.
Exactly.
We have no
if we had like the, let's say those past 20 years of Bruce Wayne weren't Bruce Wayne being crazy vigilante, but instead Bruce Wayne and super friends. It would have been okay. Because that way Batman and Superman were like brothers.
They have a relationship now.
Yeah.
And they affected each other. And you're right. They were not friends by the end of that movie.
In fact, Batman pulls a weird girlfriend thing where he's mad at you one day and you're best friends the next day.
You find out your mom's got the same name and bang, bang.
That's all it takes to stop a fight between two of the biggest faces in DC.
So yeah, super disappointing ending, just not
I was
well put together.
kind of hoping that maybe like we would see some kind of planning from Bruce or Superman about like maybe the ring wasn't just a rock, maybe the ring was some super form of kryptonite. But no,
right,
not even that.
No, it's just you're right. It wasn't explained at all. And even in the comic book that inspired this, The Dark Knight Returns, Clark technically kills Bruce, but like in classic Batman fashion, that shit was planned. So it's like you can't even like get that because like Superman doesn't plan this shit. You know what I mean? So like, cause it's a funny role reversal when like Superman attends Bruce's funeral and like as he's walking away, he hears the heartbeat. So that's how I identified this scene was like kind of a reversal. But it just didn't make sense
because Superman or Batman can't fucking hear your heartbeat.
Exactly, and like, and then you find out like it's not a plan, you know, or like for Batman it was a plan. Superman, it's not a fucking plan. He was gonna die.
I mean, the best part about that is there's this funny, I think it's like a fan made comic that I can recall of like just it was a funny thing that made me laugh about the amount that Batman really plans for this stuff. Where like Batman pissed off Superman or something, Superman punches Batman into the sun, but lo and behold, Batman had some kryptonite in his body, and all of a sudden Superman gets super
comic,
yeah.
He's like, we're about to fight, and then he gets punched into the sun, and then Alfred shows up with a note that says like, "Joke's on you, I like been pumping kryptonite in my body for years," and then all of a sudden Superman starts melting. It's great. And then we covered Lex being cryptic.
The biggest cliffhanger is obviously the bells are ringing, and then his weird little. It's not even a Lex Luthor moment. It's more of a Joker moment, really.
He's just like crazy.
Yeah.
And like that's not the Lex I know in prison. The Lex I know in prison is planning the next step.
I think all they really wanted to do was show him have the actual Lex facade, the shaved head maybe is what they wanted to I don't know, but
and I'm okay with that.
It was
like
weird.
Bald Lex is iconic as anything, but I just wish he had more confidence as Lex does, as Lex is supposed to.
It was weird. It was just really weird.
He just got unhinged.
I didn't really like it. It was Like, I get it, you're supposed to foreshadow the next thing that comes. All right, that's okay, but
but the whole movie's been fucking foreshadowing.
It was like foreshadowing the foreshadow. This was Justice League, the prequel. I don't know.
Right. So let's talk about what is to come. Right. Justice League is supposed to start filming in the next couple of weeks. Like, holy shit. And it's supposed to release next year. The first part is supposed to release next year. And it's crazy to think about because Batman v Superman has been in production for 3 years.
Right.
And we're getting one next year. I don't understand how.
So my very first question, because I haven't looked this up, is who's the director?
It's currently Zack Snyder.
It is Zack Snyder. Let's look at that and take this movie with a grain of salt because.
And technically, I think Chris Terrio is writing. And what fans hung on to with this movie is that Chris Terrio, writer of Argo, which is an Oscar-nominated movie, maybe even it won, I don't remember. He technically edited this script, Batman v Superman. So people were very, very optimistic, and we ended up getting this. So Chris Terrio is attached to write Justice League. So I hold no expectations unless they change that particular setup, because Zack Snyder is good in a specific type of movie, and I do not think superhero movies is part of that. Yeah. I don't doubt that he's a big fan. I don't. Because a lot of what he showed was for fans.
Mm-hmm. It shows, the parademons, the Omega symbol.
The parademon, and it didn't work.
You didn't get it to click. There was no click. It was just there out in the middle of subspace as some kind of weird moment that you don't really know if it existed or happened or not.
Mm-hmm. And I think there will be a delay in production. It's just really weird because before even Batman v Superman started filming, they announced Jeremy Irons as Alfred, Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor. We don't know anything about this movie in terms of villain or just what. I don't know. It's weird. Everything feels just really under wraps. I don't know if they've just started. It doesn't sit right with me.
It doesn't sit right with me for another reason, and so I'm going to draw the parallel here between them and Marvel Studios, where before we got the Avengers, we already had the origin story set. We do not get that luxury here. Right.
And that would have worked for people like Superman and Batman. And even, maybe not Wonder Woman, but Batman we've heard his origin story.
Right. But this does not work for Cyborg. This does not work for The Flash. And this does not work for Aquaman.
And oh man, I know. And DC Studios doesn't have to do it like Marvel. I fully believe they don't have to. If they are in capable enough hands, you can pull it off.
I feel like
you don't need an origin story for the Flash.
Exactly.
You just don't. He gets struck by lightning. Who gives a shit?
But
it's fine.
What if instead of trying to explain that to the people who have never seen it before, maybe you just kind of skip the origin story? You know what I mean? Maybe we just show them as the Justice League. And that is what I think we should expect to be good. To make this good, that needs to be the case.
I think so too.
Because here we saw 3 different origin stories. And obviously from what our expectations were, that this did not meet the bar. Right.
And I think what we need from Justice League is to show Flash, Aquaman, and Cyborg. And this is what it has to be what they're going to do. Show them in the movie and give them enough character for fans to be excited to see them in their own movie. By themselves.
Yes.
Are you excited to see Batfleck in a solo Batman movie? Seeing what you've seen as Batman?
No.
Hell no.
And
I'm surprised.
It's because I feel like this version only really works in a tandem movie. Seeing him interact with Alfred was great and all, but if it's just Batman, if it's not Batman and Robin, if it's not Batman and Batgirl, if it's not Batman with any other team up, I don't know if I would really be as enthusiastic to watch Batfleck.
I think he's been in talks with Jeff Johns, who is one of the DC executive producers, DC Comics, not just the film universe, the actual. Jeff Johns wrote Green Lantern for the past 15 years. He's a big deal. He's in talks with him, and people are obviously got the tinfoil hats out. A lot of people. Have you seen Under the Red Hood?
No.
Really?
Have not.
That's a really good Batman story. It's an animated movie.
Is that one on Netflix?
I think
there are quite a few. I know there's like Son of Batman is on Netflix, and I haven't heard anything about that.
That one's okay. Yeah. Well, watch, if you ever get a chance, watch Under the Red Hood.
Okay.
It tells Jason Todd, the second Robin's origin story. People are saying that his movies, because we've been hinting at the Robin so much, that the solo Batfleck movies are going to be about the Bat family, which is something we've never seen before, and I'd be very excited to see.
Well, let's not talk about those.
Well, and then with Jenna Malone, you would imagine that's like the intro. Just like her being there confirms that there is a Bat family. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. But
well, I mean, my thing is it's not going to be the very first time because we got that Batman Forever spiel. But
the first real time that the Bat family exists. Okay?
Yeah. But I mean, and that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't want another. I think it's because I don't want another standalone, just solo Batman movie. I would love to have a Bat family movie. Yeah.
And I mean, this movie is quote, slated for 2019. So that's a long time from now.
That is a long-ass time.
I mean, don't get me wrong, Batman's going to be showing up in a lot of these movies, Suicide Squad and both Justice League, so we're not going to not see him. It should be Batfleck.
Okay. I would be interested. I will see Suicide Squad, obviously, because I am more interested in that movie than I am for this one, but I would also like to see, from the DC Universe anyway, a Green Lantern reboot, because Green Lantern is, if anything, my favorite.
That shit is 2020, man. They gotta get as far away from Ryan Reynolds as Green Lantern as possible.
I really, really love the Green Lantern, or the Lantern Corps in general from the DC Galactic, because it's amazing.
That franchise is so scary to touch, though.
Because it's so fucking massive.
It's so massive. And,
oh my god.
And they tried, and they failed so hard. I am with them on waiting, because Green Lantern is not supposed to show up in Justice League, at least part 1.
Right.
He's just not. And he might show up in part 2, but like...
It won't be Ryan Reynolds.
It won't be Ryan Reynolds. It might be a black guy.
I love how did they talk about it? I don't know if they talk about it in Deadpool, but anyway. Yeah, I love the way we're going with this, because I love seeing all of my favorite superheroes come to life on the big screen, because that is just something that you can't get anywhere else, and it's amazing, and I love it. I hate the way that they did these two powerhouses so dirty in this movie. Yeah. It doesn't bode well if we can't keep getting character moments. It just doesn't. I hope they get it fixed with Justice League. I hope we hear some news about what's going to happen, and I just need some positive news here. I'm very excited to see what the second week is like. This movie's going to make a lot of money the first week, it's without a doubt. But I do think it will affect audiences, and we're going to see a big drop in the second week. Maybe not a big drop in terms of this kind of caliber. It's still going to make a shit ton of money. But it's going to draw a lot less in the coming weeks, because everyone's going to start reading their reviews, and a lot of people are just going to say, hell, if it's that bad, I'm going to wait for DVD or Netflix. Right. Which they've already released a release date for the DVD, which is supposed to be in July. Yep. Which is really, really early. A couple months? Couple months. 3, 4? Yeah. I'm excited. I'll watch it again with the director's cut, and then I will report back. Yeah, I'll probably try to watch that, or I don't know, freaking pirate it. We'll see. But it's I want to see that scene. I just want to see that scene. That's the thing. Like, are you going to devote 3 hours? I don't know. I'm just going to look for that specific clip in whatever. They're probably going to have it hosted on YouTube or something. But if those scenes that we wanted to be in the actual movie will be there, then I would like to see if it'll maybe change my perception just a little bit. What I'll say, I watched Watchmen this past weekend, the extended cut, which is 3.5 hours long. That was also a Zack Snyder movie, wasn't it? Yes. Which is versus the 2-hour-long movie. Like, the hour and a half they add are really important. It just makes the film a lot better, explains more, and I don't know. I'm hoping that it will do it for this movie, but there's too much to cover. It's too much for the uninitiated. So, I mean, we're going to go see Suicide Squad. Batfleck is supposed to be in that, too. We'll see if David Ayer can pull it off. David Ayer is a good director. Training Day. End of Watch. So, other than that, so in general, I guess to finish up here,
I think we covered a lot of the bases that we thought. Largely disappointed. The ramifications for the DC Extended Universe are... It's the opening weekend, so we don't entirely know. What do you predict is going to happen?
It kind of shot...
Justice League is going to come up.
It shot itself in the foot.
Okay.
This was supposed to be the movie that hyped up everybody and said, oh my god, DC's on the same playing field. And it delivered to a lot of the really, truly diehard comic fans. Like you said, there's a lot of stuff in here that I fucking don't know, and I read a lot of comics, and I'd like to think I'm semi-versed in Superman and Batman lore, but at the same time, you read the comics all the time, you caught a lot of the very minute details, but, for your average person, this movie is just a confusing, shit show.
Confusing, edited mess.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm really upset that... I'm more upset that other people could not enjoy it. And I don't even want to say as much as I did because I didn't enjoy it, but, like, there were just a lot of scenes that after I've had to read reviews about people's interpretations that to get even like, oh, so that's what he was going for? And I can't even confirm that's what he was going for,
Right.
It's just people's speculation.
It's hard to tell.
It's just, that's bad news for a movie.
Yeah.
If it's that loose.
I mean, not just bad news for a movie. This is gonna affect the franchise, whether or not people would like to believe so. This is gonna sour a lot of people's first impressions going into the next couple of movies, because first and foremost, this is supposed to be the movie that sets up the Justice League, and what it really did was disappoint a lot of people.
Yeah. Unfortunately so. No one is more disappointed than I am.
Right.
I wanted this movie to stand tall, but I mean, I don't know, because with Man of Steel was supposed to be the first trip up, you know?
And I mean,
and
it was...
Guess what? You get your shit together after that.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, that was not the case.
Yeah. And I mean, like, Man of Steel was average. It was okay. It wasn't bad.
Man of Steel was okay because it was one story.
Yeah.
It still made sense.
And that's the bad part. Like, you figure, you see what they can do with one story, and what they did with one story was okay. And then you see what they have when they tie in multiple movies, and all of a sudden the quality just goes to shit.
Yeah.
It went straight down the gutter real quick.
But that's all right. We'll probably get more news in the coming weeks.
And yeah, I look forward to that, actually. And I mean, I did pick up this, I guess in the silver lining, when I ordered my tickets off of Fandango, for anyone else who was looking at getting maybe these tickets this weekend, you will also receive a digital comic bundle of a lot of quintessential books. Maybe not quintessential, but a lot of introductions to both Superman and Batman. So if you were looking to get into comics, that's also another thing.
It's free. Take it.
Mm-hmm.
But any final thoughts?
I'm really sad for the viewership, both the new comic fans and the hardcore, diehard comic fans alike, because this is something that everybody was really looking forward to. And if this movie had been absolutely stellar and amazing and completely blown Marvel out of the water, I would have been happy, because I really like all of these superheroes. Mm-hmm. And the fact that this movie didn't deliver on really any of those fronts, aside from one or two moments, really it makes me sad.
Yeah. I mean, and I love that this is different from Marvel. I just like that they're not trying to go the same route, and I'm not like all about let's make everything dark and gritty, but I'm glad that this can happen. It's unfortunate that the movie wasn't very fun in the first place. And the dark and gritty that they were going for just fell flat. It's just too dark, not very fun to watch, and it's just way too confusing to follow.
Yeah.
So
it was a lot of derailed trains of thought. It felt really like I was watching 5 different movies.
Yeah. But anyways, I guess that does it for our spoiler cast, Batman v Superman. Leave us any thoughts you have at freebrunchgaming@gmail.com. We will be recording tomorrow as well. So thanks, guys, for listening.
Yep. Peace.